everyone. Welcome to another episode of BFF, a show where two best friends review movies because fan friction. We're your hosts. I'm Ashley.
I'm Joe.
And this is a very special episode of fan friction coming up. We have another celebrity guest.
We do.
Between the two of us, we had actually seen the majority of the choices, which is pretty rare for the both of us.
Oh, yeah.
There was really only two options. The choices were Murder on the Orient Express and Mad Max Fury Road. So out of those two, we're gonna go with the more recent choice, because it's the most embarrassing not to have seen. I remember when Mad Max was in the theater and everybody was singing its praises and we're like, we should go see that movie.
I mean, even before it hit the theater, I wanted to go see it. I'm a large fan of the franchise in general.
So you've seen the other Mad Max movies?
I have seen Mad Max and Beyond Thunderdome, but I don't think I saw the Road Warrior. Or no, I have seen Road Warrior. I've seen all three.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've only seen
forever.
I've only seen reviews of them. So I do know a few things about the Mad Max franchise. I know that Mel Gibson is a titular character, and this was kind of a franchise, or at least maybe the earlier films that really skyrocketed his fame.
It definitely shoved him into the forefront.
And I want to say at least the first one was definitely more in the Ozsploitation genre, of Australian cinema. I'm not too sure about the other ones because I think maybe they came out when the franchise was more mainstream.
So, anything else you can think of?
I'm really looking forward to seeing this, and I feel like, as usual, we're behind the trends, so...
A little bit.
Just a lot.
So, anyway, we're going to go watch the movie, and we'll be back later.
Alrighty.
Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon.
No, we'll be back later today.
It'll technically be right after there's a little thing that pops up in the middle. And we're back. And that movie was a no-holds-barred, adrenaline-fueled fest.
Yes, it was.
We're a little low energy for how awesome it was.
Yeah,
but believe me, there was a churning and raging inferno of energy inside. My heart is pumping all the high-octane universal donor.
If you look at all the people they're covered in tumors. Some of them look like they were very heavily inbred.
Yep, missing limbs here and there, either due to amputation or deformity. Whatevs. But yeah, all in all, just a fantastic world set up. And we're thrown into it relatively quickly with little explanation, but it all makes sense whenever they do have little things here and there. They don't have to tell us who the war boys are. They don't have to tell us who Immortan Joe is. They just kind of show you everything.
Exactly. Like you said, they show you. It's this is a clearly a cult of personality kind of situation where this Immortan Joe guy has basically
this entire town under his thumb.
Yeah, deprived them of all of the basic needs to where they kind of worship him as this godlike figure, and he is just disgusting.
Very Baron Harkonnen.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Even though I've never really seen that movie, I know who that is, and he was like a little boy was putting powder on him on all of his little gross pustules and
his open sores and his blisters and his pustules on his back.
Yeah, and all of these men worship him, but then he has this harem of wives, and basically we go to this room that's a milk farm.
Mother's milk.
Yeah, and but then some of his other wives are we're not gonna take it anymore, and we're just gonna bye.
Yeah,
I mean, I would leave too. Ew, no.
Yeah. And it's a couple of other points too that there was little tidbits of exposition here and there that they give us explaining what something is, but it's literally one thing, and it's always appropriate. They used Norse mythology is prevalent in this movie, all everywhere, riding into Valhalla and all sorts of other stuff. Most people going to see a movie like this probably know what Valhalla is, and that you have to get there. To get there, you have to die in glorious battle, or it's some sort of fantastic, violent death, and that's kind of what they're doing in this whole movie. But in general, it was just so much was shown to us. But yeah, they do give you a little bit at the very beginning too, like the gas wars and the water wars and.
Yeah, I love how they don't call it gasoline, they call it guzzling.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's like some kind of Australian thing or just
Post-apocalyptic thing.
Yeah, and then they were Furiosa was supposed to go to Gastown.
Gastown, which they talk about what was like the Bullet Farm and Gastown, and I'd imagine those two are also under the purview of Immortan Joe. Like this is all like his fiefdom kind of thing, because whenever they kind of go off course and Immortan Joe discovers it, he sends off the flares to call for reinforcements from Gastown and the Bullet Farm, which I think. Gastown is where the Winston Churchill looking dude is from. And because he's like doing the books. He's like doing all the math of how much was used and stuff. And I imagine the Bullet Farm is where the crazy dude on the tank car was from, who was blinded and had like the freaking like 2 machine guns as like you hear the orchestra playing in the background and he's going crazy and stuff. Yeah, in general this movie is just gorgeous.
There was just so many artistic aspects of this movie that I wasn't really expecting, kind of knowing some of the history of the movie, kind of being more in a genre film category. The use of color really stood out to me, just like from the get-go, like kind of reminded me of almost like a Kubrick level where like every frame is a painting and we just see like the beautiful post-apocalyptic desert landscape with like the contrast of like the blue skies and the brown deserts, and then when they're in the Citadel, the little bits of greenery that they have there. When they get to the sandstorm, and it's like there's like a lightning storm going on at the same time.
Vibrant red.
Yeah, vibrant red. Yeah, the red dust storm. Anytime there was an explosion, it would just be such a contrast against the blue sky.
Yep.
And at nighttime, the desert would take on this bluish tone that almost kind of felt like shot day for night black and white movie from like the 1930s, except with like a better color quality, of course.
Yeah.
But it was just very interesting to see like the play of color. And so I'm very curious to see how they handle all of that in the black and chrome edition, because the colors kind of felt like and this is a little cliched to say, but like a character in and of themselves, because you could tell that a lot of care went into the set design of this movie, and everything was an intentional choice.
Yeah. Which I think we mentioned it in the first part, but because this movie was almost entirely practical effects. I mean, there were some CGI, and I could see where some of it was.
I could too, especially at the beginning. I noticed it a lot more. And maybe it's just because we're watching it on our TV versus seeing it on the big screen. Some things felt a little clunky.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not blaming that on the film. I'm blaming that on our TV. So.
Well, and then part of that could be like intentional choices, because we have Max as an unreliable narrator. He's very crazy, and it just could be some choices they did camera wise and shot wise to kind of go with this whole like Max is crazy. We're seeing things clunkily from his point of view, even if it's not from his point of view. We're seeing it through his perception of the world. So I don't know. Could be. Could not. Yeah. I could be reaching.
Another aesthetic choice that I thought was really good was the sound design, because there would be a lot of moments, not just in the score of the movie, but like going from Max's perspective, like where the sound would be distorted and you would kind of hear it muffled, or they would play with like the effects so that you would know that he's disoriented or our characters are disoriented, especially if there's any kind of explosion.
They'll muffle it, or they'll have the tinnitus whine and things like that, which were really good choices. I also want to talk about the music for a second. Is like every time there was actually music playing, because there were some really quiet moments, but every time there was music playing, it was that really awesome, just like uplifting music. It was always epic and hopeful, and it was beautifully played for this part, unless it was focusing more on Immortan Joe's side, which it was like this metallic rock sounding like dangerous like chase music and stuff. So, but if it was focusing on Max and Furiosa, it was always like this really epic, like almost John Williams-esque, like uplifting hope music, and it was just a fantastic use of music in this movie as well.
Well, and then if you like talking about the fact that like the Immortan Joe stuff was more of that rock metal kind of music. I mean, what did you call his
Their
guitar?
mobile bard platform.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, and it's a meme I'd seen before floating around the internet. Like, play the bard, they said. It'll be boring. Or don't play bards, it'll be boring. And then you just have the guitar dude. Which, that was like an iconic shot from the trailers. Was just this dude with, like, flamethrower guitar.
Yes, and kind of at the end, we're talking about, like, well, if you live in the post-apocalypse, there's probably no iTunes anymore. You're probably no radio stations, so you're going to have to bring your music with you on your road trip of rage.
Yep. Road trip of rage. I love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a rage-fueled road trip. They stole his property,
as he likes to call it.
Yes, his
harem.
Yes, I forgot what he really called them in the movie.
Oh,
but
breeders.
Yes,
his breeders, his property, the things that make his sons.
Yes, because that's all he cares about.
It's having sons. God, this guy's a piece of garbage.
He is the worst person in film.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there are probably legit worse, but he's pretty bad.
Yeah, him and all of his creepy sons, like one of them looked like they was actually like an intelligent, but like he was the bruiser type, and then there was the really deformed one that was wheelchair bound.
There were three that I think were legit his sons, and it was the one with the machinery on his back, who was the bruiser one that you were talking about, who honestly, short of apparently needing that machinery on his back, seemed like the most non-mutated son of his three. And then there was the other one that was with him that kind of seemed like the Danny DeVito of the twins. Like, he was still functional and could get up and do stuff, but he seemed way less apt than his bigger bruiser son. And then there was the wheelchair bound one. I assume those other two were his sons.
Yeah, I think they called him Dad, but
that could also just be term of endearment, because he, like you had mentioned before, it's cult-like. Everything about them is cult-like. The you will ride to Valhalla all shiny and chrome, and I will carry you myself to the gates of Valhalla, and then Nux just messes up. That was beautiful.
I live, I die, I live again.
Which,
that was the little mantra that they had.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, like that. Immortan Joe's a piece of garbage, but he is a cult of personality, as you had said. They worship this guy. So to them, he is this master warlord that will carry them to a better life. Because when you have a crappy post-apocalyptic wasteland of a life, I mean, what do you have to look forward to but the afterlife, if you're told there is one?
Yeah.
So that's why they want to ride into Valhalla all shiny and chrome.
So that they can have a better life in the afterlife?
Or so they can be born again. I live, I die, I live again.
What was up with that silver spray that they kept spraying in their mouth?
So either they were getting high because it's spray paint, or the theory that I had heard online was it was some sort of like nuclear war, like chemical drug, like war drug, combat drug, combat stimulant.
It seemed to kind of give them some adrenaline rush so that they could do their job.
Or it just could be the act of it. Could be a psychosomatic situation where, like, he sprays them and they think, oh my god, I've been blessed by Immortan Joe, I can do anything now.
Well, some of them were spraying it themselves in their mouth.
But if they were taught that that's how you do it, it's like holy water. I mean, the character I was not expecting to love nearly as much was Nux.
Oh yes, because I was worried that at the very end, like, he was gonna turn back.
But no.
But he stayed true.
He did.
And it was very interesting that, like, out of all the war boys, like, he just seemed like such a go-getter.
Yeah.
And like he really wanted to help, and he really loved Immortan Joe, but then he's like, no, like, I've got to do what's right.
Yeah, and he does, and they that's the cool thing too. It's no one character that saves the day. This entire movie is a team effort. Everyone works together. The mothers in the background, the harem, the women, the won't be property people, they're awesome too. Because the whole time, like, when Max and Furiosa are shooting people, they're in the back reloading guns, getting them ready, and that's teamwork.
Yeah, there's only one of the mothers that keeps trying to, like, run back because she seems to probably be, like, the younger one.
She's scared.
And she's scared, and that's all they know, and there's safety in what you know.
Which it's really funny because I think she's the one that in the very end of the movie was like, take me back, and he brings her over, and then she just helps Furiosa up there to take care of Immortan Joe. I'm like, yes, that's awesome.
Yes, that was great.
So
yeah, all the characters were really awesome.
As a villain, I even really enjoyed Immortan Joe.
He was so disgusting, but it worked so well for the character that he was, and just his little like face mask. It just looks so crazy, and his hair, and he's so disgusting.
For a post-apocalyptic albino mutant warlord, he had pretty fantastic hair. It looked like he'd washed it before.
Yeah. Well, he had all the water.
Yeah, he did.
Or maybe he's bathing in all that mother's milk.
I'd imagine it might actually be the guzzling. It's how he gets the high octane strength that he has and all those skin problems.
Yeah, the mother's milk would actually probably help him.
Probably.
With some of those skin problems.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just his breeding farm to try to get sons and... Ugh.
Which it's this whole movie is a really interesting just thrill ride the whole way through because there are some really slow and emotional moments like when one of the arguably the leader, not Furiosa, but the leader of the mothers,
Splendid,
when she dies, it's intense because she's like the backbone of that whole thing.
You can tell she's the strongest one.
She's almost as tough as Furiosa, if not more, because she's pregnant and like doesn't have the combat training that she does, and she's still like, there's a point where Immortan Joe has his gun trained on Furiosa and she just throws open the back door and stands in the way on a moving truck. She is like about to pop and she's just like, no, you're not going to shoot your own child.
Yeah, and
so
he
I'm
won't
just gonna,
because that's all he cares about.
Yeah.
You gotta keep, that's his favorite, so she's his favorite. Yeah, you can't hurt her.
Yep.
And she has his child.
So yeah, that's some intensity right there that she's willing to risk. Like, she could have slipped and fallen, and then not made it. But I guess maybe in her mind it's better than going back. And
I think so.
Having a warlord. So, but yeah, this movie is so good. I want more Mad Max movies with Tom Hardy.
I want to say that they're making another one.
Oh, I hope so.
What I really liked about this movie was there was no forced romance between Furiosa and Max.
Nope, just that there was forced friendship and it worked. Because like they're like, you know what? The parts that I thought were interesting were like there were a couple of points past when they first started working together that Max could have been like, I'm out. Or she could have been like, I'm leaving you here. And they didn't because they understood they could use each other's help. That like they didn't necessarily need each other's help, but they could use it.
When they did almost depart ways was when she was going to lead the ladies to let's just keep driving for 160 days, and he's like, no, let's go back to the Citadel.
Yeah, when he's just like, here's my A-Team style plan, and it's gonna work, and here's why.
And that was probably the best action sequence in the whole movie when all the ladies and Max and Nux were working against Immortan Joe and the War Boys. Yeah, that was just awesome, and so many moments of, oh my gosh, oh no, because, people are dying left and right.
Holy crap! Yeah, just those kinds of...
Yeah.
Oh, so we're at the rating, huh?
Yeah.
I would give this movie a 10. I can't think of much about this movie that I really have legit problems with that would make me knock it down from 10. And, I mean, in all honesty, if I'm giving it a more accurate, it's like a 9.8. But it's so close, I might as well just call it a 10. Because I don't really have any issues with this movie. It's good. It's solid. And I'm really disappointed in us for not having seen it sooner.
I'm not going to give it a 10. I'll give it a 9. But I do think it's a pretty solid movie. It just, I didn't feel as pumped and excited at the very end like I am with a lot of movies that I absolutely love. I thought it was a solid movie, solid story, but just not perfect enough for me to give it that solid 10 rating.
I think it's because it's not quote-unquote as fun.
Yeah, definitely. It's got a lot of sad moments in it. And then, of course, those are all fine. I'm not saying a movie can't be sad. All right, so that's about it from us. Next up, fan friction. I'm excited to see how it all plays out as an audience member.
Yeah. We're gonna wait and see.
All right. And our question this week was based around the theme of the show. What is the best film that takes place primarily on a mode of transportation? And that could have included so many different things.
Like trains, planes, or automobiles.
Yes, and even boats.
Which Sam went with Titanic.
Yes, not the one with an animated rapping dog, though.
Good catch, though, Tom.
Tom went with a train choice with Murder on the Orient Express. And of course, Coy wrapping it up on various vehicles with Mad Max Fury Road.
It was a fun fight, fun round. Very fun.
Lots of back and forth jabs between Tom and Sam about each other's movies, and that kind of like let Coy skate by a bit.
Yeah, very, very hard on both Titanic and Murder on the Orient Express for, I think, similar reasons, really. But
I loved the quote from the evening that Titanic moves at a glacial pace.
Yes.
That came from Coy.
That is not inaccurate.
But going back to what was actually said about Mad Max Fury Road, which I kind of predicted that this one would win the fight just because like it is like a very new movie and it did have a lot of audience and critical acclaim.
And it's like everyone liked it. And it bridged a lot of gaps between different like fan groups and things like that. And as it was said, it brought the franchise back.
A lot of the knocks against Mad Max Fury Road were against the plot itself. Sam said it had no story, and Tom said it had more story than Titanic. So again, kind of going back to let's make fun of Titanic, which is always a good time in my opinion.
So good. And that's funny because I felt it did have story, but I think a lot of people confuse exposition for story because it didn't really have a lot of exposition. It did what it needed to do.
Yeah, and then one of the other things that Coy talked about was the fact that, you know, even though it kind of has like this pace where they're going, and then they turn around and come back, like you're so invested in it that you don't really care that it's just a very simple story.
Yeah.
Another knock that Sam had against it was the fact that there was no Mad Max in it, and basically talking about Mel Gibson didn't reprise the role.
Which is good. It's fine. I would rather see remakes of all the original Mad Maxes with Tom Hardy as Max than, you know, have Mel Gibson reprise the role in Fury Road, if I had to choose. So Coy brought up this interesting thing, calling it like art car madness and comparing it to Burning Man. Well, we live in Houston, and we have an annual art car parade, and it's a huge deal, and none of them look like these.
Oh, our art cars are like cute with like there's a Santa Claus car.
Yeah, one of the guys who works at the local gaming store is the Santa Claus car driver, and he looks like Santa Claus. And this guy, like super embraces the ideal behind it and stuff. But in general, it's way more mellow than this. Like I now really want a quick scene of like our Houston art car parade, and then you just see some warboy like driving through, crashing through all of them. You hear, "Oh, what a lovely day!" And it's not, because it's like 102 degrees outside in the middle of July, because it's Houston.
I liked Tom's point at the very end about how, like, you know, he said it was a good movie overall, but that there was just, like, not enough gas for all of, like, this driving around because the fact that Furiosa was going to get gasoline and just, yeah, like a little bit of a nitpick, and he didn't want to, like, go too nitpicky with it because he did say it was a good film, a beautiful film, you know, visually.
A glorious film. We watch, we review, we watch again. No. But see, that's funny because like Mad Max in general shouldn't work, because like everything focuses on using all these vehicles, and they've had gasoline wars and resource wars. Who has the gasoline that this post-apocalyptic society where everyone has cars it even works?
One of the last things that I found very interesting about Coy's argument was the fact that, like, you know, this movie was so surprising that it was actually good, because when you kind of come back to a franchise after it's been gone for a while, you know, it could end up being pretty bad.
Sometimes you get Mad Max, and sometimes you get Jurassic World, which is still fun, but it's not nearly as beautiful as Fury Road.
Another point that really stood out to me was when Coy talked about when you want to watch a good movie, it's one that you could watch anytime over and over again. And he mentioned that you could fall asleep to Fury Road, which I kind of felt would be like a knock against him, because if you're wanting to watch a movie, it's not like, man, let me pick this to fall asleep to, because when I watch a movie, I want to watch something and not fall asleep during it. So.
Yeah, but one of my favorite movies I could watch when I'm doing the dishes or cleaning the house, or to fall asleep to. Which
I just
also
thought
features a vehicle.
I just thought that was like a point that I'm surprised nobody attacked him on that.
I do agree with you though that it's surprising no one tried to use that against him. Like I can see someone defending that argument, like if someone tried to use it against Coy, but Coy defending himself fairly well. Mm-hmm. But I'm surprised no one tried to go for it. It's very surprising. So now we rate this choice for the question, right? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go with a 9. Personally, if only because there were tidbits of this movie. Mm-hmm. I would say at least 10% of this movie that takes place off the vehicles. The beginning where Max is like in Morton Joe's stronghold and all that mm-hmm. kind of stuff. As were the other two, with the exception of when they're getting on the vehicle in the very beginning of the movie, is almost entirely on the vehicles.
Yeah, I definitely would not have thought of this movie first, especially considering I hadn't seen the movie, but like when I thought of the answer to this question, I thought of, again, more of like on a plane or like a big vehicle, not like cars. So yeah. I think I would give it an 8 just because on those technicalities. Yeah. I think it's still a good choice because it fits. And
it won him the point.
Exactly.
All right, so now we're going to go to Twitter where we asked, what film must be experienced in the theater to truly appreciate it?
We had a lot of good responses on this as well.
We did.
Randall Sands at Randall Sands said, undeniably, it's Jurassic Park. Which, by the time you guys are watching this, will probably have already seen Jurassic Park in the theater because it's playing in our town.
At our local Alamo Draft House. Brian at Hercules said, Twister. It's a dark horse, but Twister.
I saw Twister in the theater.
Would you agree to that?
I mean, I only saw it the one time, so I mean, it's a big spectacle disaster film, so that makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm.
Becky Miller at Becky Miller 83. I wonder if she was born the same year we were. Said the only thing that comes to mind would be Avatar in 3D. I've never seen Avatar. Same.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
I've never had the desire to see Avatar. How about you?
Nope.
But I would imagine if I were going to see it, 3D would be the way to see it. Mm-hmm. Sounds truly glorious to behold.
And now they're making 1 million more.
Eric Monroe at MMKoch 200.
Hey, you got it right the first time.
Shut up. Said Star Wars. I would imagine he means any of them, or maybe the first one, or maybe Force Awakens. Doesn't matter. I would imagine any of them would be glorious on the big screen.
Did you ever see them when they were re-released in 97?
No.
Oh, I went to all of them. It was great. Of course, it was the special editions, but still.
Corey L. Williams at Geometroid said Cloud Atlas jumps to mind. And I can imagine anything the Wachowskis do need to be experienced in the theater. Visually, they are always stunning. So that's it for Twitter. So, yeah, if you have an answer to our question, leave it in the comments below. Maybe, if you feel so inclined, quickly, with speed, click that like. Maybe subscribe to the TUFF channel where we have all sorts of fun things. Check out our other BFFs.
And if you want to continue the conversation outside of this video, you can always hit either of us up on Twitter, where you can find me at @_Mrs. Davis.
And I'm at Drake Masters.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Not the animated one with a dog.
Good call, though, Tom. Good catch.
There's also not a cat in that movie either. Oh.
Hello.
Hi. Hey, Tib.
Just checking this thread out, seeing what's going on there.
She's like, this is a silly place.
I should not go there. And now she's settling in for a long winter's nap.